This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Twilight Show. I'm Claire Cannon. Thank you for joining me, whether you are here live or listening to the podcast. Today I'm looking back over the last 3 terms, a year in the life of a teacher, and taking time to reflect on all of the highs, lows and everything in between, including of course, where are the missing glue sticks.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Thank you once again if you are here live joining me on a Friday evening. We are not far from the end of term, so appreciate your time if you are here, because it will no doubt have been a very busy week. Really excited to have Harriet joining me shortly. I can see actually you are there, waiting to join and to speak to us this evening, but really excited to have Harriet to tell us about her year actually in a primary school, busy primary school that's been going through a lot of change. So hopefully some interesting anecdotes, some stories, probably some funny bits as well, possibly some things that are a little bit challenging, because we all know that in a school year there's all sorts of things that can happen. So why do this? We're not quite at the end of term, I know, but to me I think it's important that we take the time to reflect. It's not something that we always, it's not a luxury we always afford ourselves. We sort of on the go all the time. What's the next thing? What should we be doing? We don't actually very often take the time to stop and really think about what it is that we've achieved. And it is about achievement and our successes. Yes, of course, there will have been challenges, but there will be so many things that we have managed to cope with, that we have improved, and things that perhaps our young people can do now that they couldn't do a week ago, a month ago, or at the start of the year. So as I say, really important, and I think actually a service to ourselves to take that time to think about what it is that we've managed to get done in a year. I was also thinking about it from the point of view of sort of mood and positives. There's lots of talk about education. There's always this narrative at the moment about recruitment, about retention, and it can be very easy to get sort of drawn into the things that perhaps aren't going so well. And so it was really nice actually to see the other day. I can't remember who now, and I wish I'd written it down, but somebody had started a thread on Twitter about, let's celebrate all the positive things about education, about working in schools, and all of the nice things that being involved with our young people can actually bring to us. The successes that they manage to achieve, but also the things that mean a lot to us as professionals and educators as well. So, um, a couple of thoughts from me, and then we'll get Harriet on it and we'll have a chat with her. And if you are listening live and you've got some stories of your own to share, please do text in, because it'll be lovely to hear from you. So I started off thinking about my highlights, and actually I came up with quite a few. And it is one of those things, I say, when you stop and think, you realise there is a lot more than perhaps you might immediately, things that might immediately spring to mind. So one of my real highlights was seeing the impact that my dog can have on students who are struggling to regulate. And some of you, if you've listened to my shows before, might know that I have a background working in alternative provision, and prior to that, as a Senko in a couple of different mainstream schools. And seeing the impact of bringing in what can be sometimes quite a crazy Springer Spaniel, actually, but bringing him into a situation where a student is really struggling to regulate, and just the difference that a non-judgmental animal, he's coming in, he's just seeing somebody who's going to give him a little bit of fuss, give him a bit of attention, but also there's something I think he does know. I think he can tell when somebody needs him just that little bit more. Um, so seeing the change in some of the students when they've had contact with the dog, whether it's a one-off or whether it's been a sort of longer term intervention, that's been something that's been a real highlight for me. And seeing them realise that actually, they can manage and master their own emotions. They can actually make a difference to a situation that perhaps they were struggling with. So that was a real highlight for me. And also, working in alternative provision, a lot of the students would arrive, and they've struggled to engage. That's why they're there. They perhaps had struggled to even stay in a lesson when they were in mainstream. So for some of them, that itself, that's a big win. Being able to stay in a classroom for the whole lesson, that in itself is a big step forward. We can get on to doing the work and making academic progress another time, but if they're feeling safe, they're feeling secure, and they're feeling regulated enough that they can stay in that room, that again is a massive achievement and something that was, you know, easily missed, um, easily missed if you are just looking at academic data. But actually, for some of our young people, it is about taking that step back and looking at their holistic needs. So again, really, really big highlight, really big positive for me. And off the back of that, actually, seeing students make progress that they didn't think they could achieve, building those relationships, building trust with adults. Again, when they perhaps have felt very let down by systems, have felt that, what's in it for me? Why bother? So to see them realise that actually they can trust, they actually feel safe enough to take that risk. If you're somebody that hasn't, perhaps had the most positive experience of, relationships with staff, actually, that's a big risk to take, to kind of let that happen, let that person in. So again, really, really big positive for me there. And then the staff, I had a leadership role. I was assistant head, and seeing the staff around the school, grow in their roles, sharing feedback with me about things they've achieved in their department or things that they've perhaps done personally as well as professionally, um, around sometimes directly around support that I might have given them, but also around some of the other things that have been in place. So, it isn't just about the students, it is that whole team, that staff group as well. Um, Now, yes, of course, you think back about the highlights, there are also the things that perhaps are less positive, ongoing challenges around levels of staff absence. For me, it was particularly around Christmas time, which you kind of expect. It's the end of a long term. It's dark. It's wet. It's cold. And then the impact then on the staff who are in the school, who are picking up the pieces a little bit, and obviously working in alternative provision, that has a sort of a magnified effect on some of the students' ability to regulate. That they're tired as well, they've had a long journey to school, and then their favourite member of staff is not there. Well, the person they're expecting to see for their maths lesson is not there, and something has had to change. So, little bits like that. There are going to be those things, but I think it is really important that we focus on the highlights, and also the funny side of things, the lighter side of things. The one for me was a student who, and this is the radio edit version. You could imagine sometimes the language in alternative provision is a little bit fruity, but I went to a meeting which meant that someone had to cover my maths lesson, and a student said to me afterwards, say polite version, radio edit version, maths is rubbish without you, miss. And it was a nice sort of bit of feedback, but it was also quite funny and light-hearted in the way that they said it. Um, and another thing was we had a system in our school of praise slips. They have a couple of words on them, and staff highlight what the reason is that the student's been given praise. And we had a student who said, "Oh, we need some of the staff are being really moody. They're being really grumpy." Um, so the students made the opposite of praise slips, or they called them moody criteria. So I am the proud owner of, I think, three moody criteria, non-praise slips. So, a nice side of thing again, because it meant that the students felt they had that relationship, that they could do that, and it would be seen in the way that it was intended. And actually, it was, the bigger picture again there is all around trust and building that bond, building that connection with those young people. So lots of different things I could go on all day, but this is not about me. Um, I can see Harriet is waiting in the wings. So what we will do is hear from our sponsors, and then Harriet, we will come over to you.
Hi teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculum. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps for good. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org. Imagine having your own instructional coach available 24/7. Now you can with the Teaching How-Tos platform. This highly personalised social platform empowers busy teachers to learn and apply evidence-based teaching techniques, either independently, working collaboratively with their peers, or with our new AI assistant. The platform features over 160 visual guides to teaching techniques, designed to help you quickly and easily implement high-impact practices that boost student engagement and improve learning outcomes. Join over 200 institutions worldwide that are elevating their teaching practices with the How-To app. No gurus, just practical support anytime you need it. Interested in finding out more? Visit teachinghowtos.com and register for our next webinar.
Empowering education with Easy for You, where innovation meets accessibility. Our subscription-based offering not only equips schools with cutting-edge devices, but revolutionizes the learning experience by eliminating financial barriers, streamlining support, and embracing technology. We're not just providing tools, we're shaping a future where every student can thrive, unburdened by limitations. Easy for You, transforming education, one device at a time. Find out more at www.easyforyou.school.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Are you looking for best practices and innovative strategies to foster confident, lifelong readers? Watch sessions by thought leaders in education, literacy experts, and EdTech specialists from the International Reading Conference for free. The lineup included renowned speakers such as TV personality and education expert Basit Siddiqui, and beloved children's author Michael Rosen. The three-day conference explored a range of topics at the forefront of the current educational landscape, with sessions relevant for all educators and key stages. Sign up to receive the recordings for free by visiting the Reading Solutions UK website at readingsolutionsuk.co.uk.
Okay, thank you there to our sponsors for their ongoing support of Teachers Talk Radio. As it's nearly the end of the school year, I'm taking some time today to look back at some of the many, many wonderful things that happen as we go through a school year. Not just thinking about things like parents' evenings and exams, but the little things that can mean a lot, that can make a big difference. So they might be big things actually, but quite often it is the little things, the moments that count, the things that matter. Whether it's a success or whether it's seeing somebody achieve something that perhaps they found really difficult or they didn't think they could do, or maybe it's just something that really, really made you laugh. Um, so, as as I say, a few little bits shared from me before we heard from our sponsors. But what I really want to do is get Harriet joined in and hear from her all about her experiences this year as a primary school teacher. So, Harriet, have we got you?
Hello.
Are you with
Can you
us?
hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I certainly can hear you. How are
Yeah,
you?
good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Oh, hello, Buzz. I can
Yes,
hear
it's
him.
typical. He's been silent this whole time and then now he just starts to bark.
Yeah. Well, it's one of my sort of teachers talk radio fears is that there's going to be some random animal noise in the background because my two dogs are usually in the room with me.
Yeah, I apologise because there is someone at the door and I'm home alone, so it's just going to have to wait.
Oh dear. Harriet, thank you for joining us on a Friday. And I always say that to my guests because Friday, end of the week, but also end of not just any old term, but end of the summer term, just about.
Yes,
There's
yeah,
been a huge amount going on.
there has been so much and yeah, it's been busy. It's kind of the children are getting tired and they're definitely kind of ready for that summer break.
Yeah. Have you? I know we said sort of this is show is about a year in the life, sort of a diary of a teacher. But if we just think about the here and now, and what have you got coming up in what we've got 10 days left of term, I think.
We have got so much coming up. We're doing a performance to our parents, and the children are performing to the rest of the school. We've got our school trip. We've had sports days. So yeah, we've got lots in the next 10 days that we need to fit in and do. So yeah, super excited for all of that to come.
Yeah. As there's always a lot going on, isn't there, at the end of term? I noticed there actually you said sports days. There's more than one.
We did. We had one track day on one day, and then we had a field day, which was doing sort of carousel of activities that parents could come and watch. So 2 days, half
Wow.
days for the children. So that was fun. Yeah.
I must have been really busy. I bet there's some tired children as well at the end of all of that.
Definitely. I'm starting to see the children starting to slowly dwindle away with the their like efforts at the moment. They're just exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose it's funny, isn't it? Because we know that, yet we still have all these things, as you say, that have got to fit into the
Yeah.
end of term with your performances and all the other bits going on. So
Yeah, and trying to squeeze in some learning in between all of that. It's fun.
yeah, it doesn't stop, does it?
Definitely doesn't. No,
It doesn't stop.
it's just a constant just churning it out and just keep going.
Yeah, but we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Harry, if I can sort of take you back to September, I can't remember what date we started, possibly something like the 2nd or 3rd.
Yeah, it was early. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it being early. But if I take you back to September, what were you thinking? What were your sort of hopes, goals, dreams for the year?
Yeah, I think September's always quite daunting for a teacher because you've got a new class, it's a new academic year, you want to set those high expectations, and you want to kind of be consistent with those. But I always try and just build relationships with the pupils and the children that you've got in front of you. Because like you said in your bit earlier, if they don't feel safe and happy being in school, then they won't excel. And yeah, I really like to try and build relationships with them in those first couple of weeks. And get to know them as a person rather than them just as a child almost. Get them, get to know what they like, what makes them tick, what they enjoy doing outside of school. And that was my goal for September.
Yeah.
And hopefully I have achieved it this year. And also getting to know the parents and seeing how they are, because I think that's also getting them on board is great.
Yeah. That's a really interesting shift as well, because I think, a couple of years ago, people would talk about their goals being around data, being around progress. And, what you've said is very much about human beings, isn't it?
Definitely. And I know schools are very data driven and things like that. But for me, I'm very much take the small wins. What has this child achieved today? How have they overcome a fear, or how have they overcome something, rather than academically? It's also personally as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I think I'm more the personal growth of the child and the confidence in them rather than academic side of it.
So I think, what I hear there is that it's very much around that holistic approach, and particularly because you mentioned the parents as well. They're important, aren't they?
Definitely, yeah. So every morning we, as a school, the children line up outside and the parents will drop them off, and I always try and go out there and speak to them and, check in with them, make sure they're okay. Because if they've had a stressful morning, then that's going to come onto the child, and the child's going to have a stressful morning. So it's just trying to build up those positive relationships where you can, because school life is busy and you're never going to be able to just go and speak to that parent when you want to. So it's having that time and that relationship with them early on, so that you can have those difficult conversations if need be later.
And I think that's absolutely key, isn't it? Because as you say, it is a busy year. There's always a lot going on. They are little human beings who are learning. They're going to make mistakes. There's going to be things that make you pull your hair out and go, "Oh, why did you do that?" But to have that relationship already, with the family, so that if you do have to make that phone call or have that conversation, it's from someone. It's from a position of trust and understanding, hopefully, isn't it? Then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, I've not actually had to have difficult conversations this year, but there are times where you do have to, you will have to in your career.
Yes.
And like you say, children are children, they'll make mistakes, and they'll definitely learn from those silly mistakes and those errors. But yeah, it's making sure you've got that relationship to kind of support you and also work together with the parents rather than against them.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, your comment there, which you said very sort of matter of fact and almost sort of throwaway, that I haven't had any difficult conversations this year. That's huge. I think that's a big sort of well done, because that shows. That to me really shows the power of the relationships you have built, with those families and children.
Yeah, although actually thinking about it, I have actually had to have one on over the phone. Just when actually then just thinking, no, I put that one to the back of my memory and erased it. But yes, I have had to have one difficult conversation.
But still, one in a year when you've got a class of what, 30?
Yeah, 27 actually, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of hours you spent with those young people over the course of a year to only have had one conversation, and the fact that it didn't spring to mind either.
Yeah.
And that says a huge amount. I mean, so I was going to say to you, in terms of those goals that you had in September, um, how do you feel things have progressed? But I think you've kind of answered that by and
Yeah,
large.
like I think definitely the children, I've got a good relationship with them. They've got a good relationship with me. I think the parents, I've got good communication with them, and they feel happy enough to kind of speak to me about their worries or concerns and things like that. So I would definitely say the goals in September that I set to build those relationships, I would say I've achieved this year.
Yeah.
And hope to kind of push that a bit more moving forward, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, and that sounds brilliant. And I think, as I say, it's a much needed change from, the emphasis a couple of years ago on the data, and now it is much more around the human side of things. And that's lovely to hear that about your class. I'm just curious about yourself as well, as a teacher, because you've not long been ECT and sort of relatively early on in your teaching career. So were there any sort of goals specifically for yourself?
Oh, definitely being a bit more organised, setting boundaries,
Yeah.
because I think that's really important, and just enjoying the smaller things and taking the small wins when you can, because teaching can become quite, it's an intense job. And I think actually when you kind of, like you say, you reflect and sit down and go, oh, although that wasn't great, I've done really well in that, or I've done well in that. So it's taking the small wins and giving yourself the confidence and the boost that you need, actually, and saying, okay, that was a bit of a fail, but I've learned from it, and this is where we're going to go forward with it.
And that's really important, I think, to take away, isn't it? That actually just like we would completely accept that the children will make mistakes,
Mm,
but actually so will we. So will we have things that don't go to plan, whatever it is, and that's fine.
yeah, and don't be so hard on yourself. That's one thing that I need to remember to be.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think I read something actually. I think it takes something like 100 positives to cancel out a negative.
Oh
So you think
wow.
of all the times that I think it came from research around children who have ADHD, and the amount of times they get told to stop swinging on your chair, stop tapping your pen, stop whatever it is they're doing, and they hear that message all the time. And yet, what we really need to be doing is picking out the positives. I suppose that's probably true of us as well, because we do remember, the
All the things that went
yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
Yeah,
we do, and we have to make more of a conscious effort, don't we? As you say, to think about the little things.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um. Obviously, it's thinking back over the year. Have you got any sort of particular highlights you'd like to share with people, and things that have gone really, really well? Seeing as we're talking about, and it could be the little things, but equally the big things too.
So yeah, so a couple of highs. I I was asked to do some singing assemblies while our music teacher wasn't here.
Okay.
And although at the time when the head teacher asked me to do that, I let out a big groan in front of all the staff, and that was supposed to be an internal groan.
Oops.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed that kind of leading on singing assemblies and seeing the kids just kind of just enjoy themselves and just kind of be like, oh, it's we might all sound rubbish, but we're all having fun, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was one of my highs, and another high being a teacher, the children finally understanding the concept of time.
Okay. Yes. I think there's a lot of colleagues, primary and secondary, actually, will relate to that one.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't all get it, but when you just think, I've got the majority there, I hope.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that's huge, isn't it? Because that's not just about them getting it in terms of you've taught them something, but what a valuable life skill as well.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I just think when you kind of reflect and you go, gosh, what a year it's been, it's kind of watching the children put it all together and
Hmm.
putting all of that learning together to make a piece of writing, or I don't know, how to deal with a situation that they probably couldn't have dealt with in September, sort of thing. Like
Mm,
just little things like that you think, this is why it
yeah.
took me so long to show them how to be kind, or to talk,
Yeah.
talk things through and things like that. So that's definitely been another high of mine for this year.
And taking that step back, isn't it? And sort of, reflecting on what's gone into it. And when you think of, I mean, it's even like when you give the students a photo of themselves, the traditional thing, isn't it, year 1 to year 6 when they're leaving? But actually,
Mm.
if we think about that just within their current academic year, they will have changed a huge amount, won't they, across that year?
They have, and actually, we have sort of school iPads, and I took a photo of the children on the transition day, and I've still got them on the school iPad. And I think if I just print that off as like a little bit of a leaving gift and
Yeah.
compare it to them now, the change just physically, not just mentally and academically and all of that, just it's crazy.
Mm,
And you forget, because you're there with them every single day, that how much they are changing and they're growing and they're learning, and just yeah.
yeah. It's exciting, isn't it? And I think that's like you say, that's when you go, this is why. It
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Harry, I know because your school fairly active through their trust and whatever on social media. So I've seen your photo a couple of times pop up. I don't know whether you whether you're going to share anything about those photos and what you were selected for.
Oh, selected for, oh gosh, as in
Oh,
employee of the month,
there you
or
go, that one,
ah.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, no, that was a high, actually. Employee of the month, I got that, and again, that was from doing my leading on my singing assemblies and kind of taking it under my wing while our music teacher wasn't there. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so I did get employee of the month, which sounds ridiculous, but it made me so happy.
I don't think that sounds ridiculous because it's a recognition, isn't it, of what you've done.
Yeah, and like you say, you praise the children all the time, but you never really get the praise yourself. So when I won that, I was like, yay! I got a water bottle, and I do drink from it occasionally, but it's not my water bottle of choice.
Okay. But next time you get asked to do a singing assembly, you're not going to groan quite so loudly.
No, I won't. And if I do, it'll be internal.
Keep that one inside.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I mean that's an amazing hire. And I think that just goes to show, like you say, it's important that we think about ourselves. It's not selfish, actually, is it, to think about ourselves as well as the students, and think about all of those positives. But obviously, the flip side of it is there are some challenges. And I just wonder what sort of cropped up for you through the year that perhaps you have had to manage and sort out as we've gone along.
I think challenges in where I am at the moment in my classroom is the adaptation for the children and the abilities within sort of, you've got your real high flyers, and then you've got children that are on that have got send. So it's making sure you are scaffolding, but also stretching those children and pushing every child to their limits where they can be pushed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the challenges I think I've found, and I think a lot of teachers are probably finding mainstream classrooms becoming a lot more broader in their abilities. And that's something that for me I've found difficult, because there are children that have got EHCPs in my classroom, so you need to support and scaffold for them. But then I've got children that could potentially be working at the year 4 curriculum, or top end of year 3. So it's that's for me been one of my biggest challenges, I'd say.
Yeah. And I think, you're right, that does echo what is happening, nationally and primary and also secondary. You have got that breadth of need, of ability, and I suppose engagement as well with some of the students.
Yeah, definitely with engagement. Yep.
I wonder, that is a big challenge. I wonder what you've found helpful in that situation, to I suppose manage your workload, but as you say, also to make sure that all the students are getting what they need.
Yeah, so before I got married, I was Barnes, so I made some Brainy Barnes challenges, and I printed loads off, and I've got them from other resources, but I've just tweaked them to make them mine, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I have them in a drawer, and if a child finishes their work, then I will go and I've marked it, and I said, yeah, fantastic. I'll go and say, go to the Brainy Barnes challenge and take a few out, and then work on a whiteboard and work through those. And you can do that for maths and English and any topic really, or subject. And then in terms of like adaptations, and especially for children that are struggling to kind of, like you say, concentrate or focus while you're putting the input in, I've got another sort of resource pack of word searches, colouring sheets, and just little things that can keep a child busy, but I know they're listening still, because that's again, you've built their relationships up, so you know how that child will work and how it helps them, just to keep their hands busy.
Yeah.
So they could be just doodling, but they're also taking in all that information, whereas before, like you say, they're swinging on the chair, or they're clicking their pencils on the table, or things like that.
Yeah.
So definitely kind of being over-resourced in a sense of knowing the children, knowing what they need for the lesson, what sort of adaptations you're going to need, and making sure it's there for you before the lesson starts.
Yeah. And interesting, you picked up that, one of your things was around being organised. I mean, that sounds really, really organised. The fact that the children, they know where it is, it's there, you can send them to go and get it. And just how well those individual students that, you can say to that one, yep, go and grab a word search. I know that, whilst you might be looking for, zebra amongst all the other words or whatever it is, they are actually still paying attention to whatever it is that's the lesson content. So I think that's really great.
It's taken me a long time to figure that one out, but we've got there in the end, sort of thing.
And that's part of our learning, isn't it? As teachers, you figure things out, and I suppose it's what works for one class one year might be very different to what you do with a different class, in the following year, or the class you had last year.
Exactly. And again, it's going back to that, building those relationships in the first kind of couple of weeks to really understand the
Yeah.
children, what their needs are and how you can support them.
Yeah. That's brilliant. And I think, anyone who's, whether they're listening live or people who've downloaded, I think that's just a brilliant teacher tip. Kind of end. That's just a really useful thing that people can take away from the conversation. So thank you for sharing that, 'cause that's helpful.
No
Um,
problem.
I'm just thinking, as we've talked about the highs, we've talked about the challenges, talked about your goals, but working with little people, and even big people, because I work with big people. There are also the bits that are just downright funny, the things that kind of just make you laugh, make you smile, and I'm just curious, really, what little anecdotes, what little snippets have you got from your year that have brought that little bit of joy and laughter to your day?
So there's been a couple,
Mm.
and the one that springs to my mind to begin with is the year 6 had their SATs obviously this year, and as they do every year, and I was a mentor for one of the year 6s to kind of build on their confidence.
Yeah.
And they had like a rewards day, so they had sumo wrestling. Well, obviously me being me couldn't just watch the year 6s do the sumo wrestling, so I jumped in one of these sumo suits with one of the TAs, and we had an absolute ball just kind of trying to get each other out of the pen and things like that. And again, like, the children will remember that for that's the type of stuff that the kids will remember.
Yeah.
So that was a funny bit for me after SATs. I just thought that was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Was that those inflatable things?
The inflatable ones, yeah. So we had like a big inflatable bodysuit on, almost just running at each other. It was brilliant.
And like you say, that is the bit, you remember it and the students will remember that as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and we were just bursting into laughing. It was, it's that bits like that make the job, you think, that's, it's the light-hearted stuff that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
And then again, just going back to kind of like the children's academic stuff, we were writing a suspense story, and there's always a couple that really tickle you.
Mm.
And a suspense story is supposed to be quite scary, and what's going to
Yeah.
happen next. Well, one of my children is pretty obsessed with eyelashes and
Okay.
wrote about the statue and the tiggly eyelashes. And I'm reading this suspense story, and she's got all the things that you need for a suspense story, but it's just all based around eyelashes. And on a Friday evening, or whenever I was marking it, I just thought, my goodness me. I mean, it's a great story, but it really has no suspense. It's just hilarious. And you think, I've put all this effort into teaching, and we've got eyelashes featuring in a suspense story. So that one, again, really tickled me as I was marking it late one evening. And yeah.
Yeah, and you're right, and it is those moments, isn't it, when you think, what have I been teaching you for the last little while? But actually, they've probably got all the components of the story. They've
Yeah.
just done it in a very unique way.
Yeah, and that's you have such a broad range, and obviously going back to the sort of the different range in a classroom, it's just, and she did have all the components that you needed for a suspense story, but it was all around eyelashes, and I just think, wow, you've really twisted this suspense story. And it was very funny to read.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Go on.
But yeah, and that's, I would say, and dressing up, obviously I love the funny bits, dressing up days.
Yeah.
Making a school band for music day, and World Book Days, and all of those fun things that come with teaching. They're the bits that I think are the funny fun things.
Did you go with the theme for anything like World Book Day? I think in our school we did. No, it was I don't know. This makes no sense. We did when it was Halloween.
Yeah.
We did a sort of trick or treat, but at school, and I honestly couldn't tell you why. But as staff, we decided to be pirates. Not sure what that has to do with Halloween, but
No, but again,
we were pirates. It was good fun, and it actually caused the students were kind of going, "Why are you a pirate? That's not Halloween." So, but again, they will remember that.
yeah. We had dressing up as a word for World Book Day. So
A
again,
word or a worm?
yes, a word.
Okay.
So I was ecstatic. So I wore all yellow and basically ran everywhere for the whole day.
Brilliant. But
That
you run everywhere anyway.
Yes, no, and that's
You
why
do
I
a lot
thought
running.
ecstatic, because I'm full of energy.
Oh, I like that. So what other words did people choose?
My team teacher came as onomatopoeia, and she had lots of different like boom, bash, pow all on her. Another one was the letter B, but then she came as a bumblebee. We had elegant, so people were all dressed in like a beautiful dress. Disco, and we had a big ball. It was just all interpretations. Clumsy and Mr. Bump, lots of them came as. Sleepy, a lot of the children came as in their pajamas.
Oh, right. Well, that's very clever, isn't it? Because I can't do it today because I'm Mr. Sleepy.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm tired. I'm sleeping. And I'm like, no, it's work day. Come on. But
full marks there for ingenuity.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was good fun.
Yeah. And that's partly why I wanted to take this time to have this conversation, because it is, as I said at the beginning, it is about the fun things, the humorous things, the bits that really make you smile, because they do make the job, don't they? And it is, as you say, it is busy, it is a tough job, but there's so much to celebrate too.
There really is. And like just chatting to you, you kind of just reflect and you go, oh gosh, yeah, that, it is a great job. And although, like you say, it's full on, but when you do reflect and you do take the time to look back at the year, you think, oh, it's good. It's a good fun, good job.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Harriet, if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is take a few minutes just to hear from our sponsors again and listen to the news, and then come back to you with a couple of other questions and little bits to pick up on, if that's okay.
No problem.
Fabulous. Right, we'll hear from you very soon.
Hi teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculum. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps for good. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org. Imagine having your own instructional coach available 24/7. Now you can with the Teaching How-Tos platform. This highly personalised social platform empowers busy teachers to learn and apply evidence-based teaching techniques, either independently, working collaboratively with their peers, or with our new AI assistant. The platform features over 160 visual guides to teaching techniques, designed to help you quickly and easily implement high-impact practices that boost student engagement and improve learning outcomes. Join over 200 institutions worldwide that are elevating their teaching practices with the How-To app. No gurus, just practical support anytime you need it. Interested in finding out more? Visit teachinghowtos.com and register for our next webinar.
Empowering education with Easy for You, where innovation meets accessibility. Our subscription-based offering not only equips schools with cutting-edge devices, but revolutionizes the learning experience by eliminating financial barriers, streamlining support, and embracing technology. We're not just providing tools, we're shaping a future where every student can thrive, unburdened by limitations. Easy for You, transforming education, one device at a time. Find out more at www.easyforyou.school.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading!
Are you looking for best practices and innovative strategies to foster confident, lifelong readers? Watch sessions by thought leaders in education, literacy experts, and EdTech specialists from the International Reading Conference for free. The lineup included renowned speakers such as TV personality and education expert Basit Siddiqui and beloved children's author Michael Rosen. The three-day conference explored a range of topics at the forefront of the current educational landscape, with sessions relevant for all educators and key stages. Sign up to receive the recordings for free by visiting the Reading Solutions UK website at readingsolutionsuk.co.uk.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
Artificial intelligence is in the news after a study at a UK university conducted a real-life Turing test. The University of Reading published its findings in the PLOS ONE Science Journal. In the study, 33 alias student profiles were set up by the university's tech team. The alias students were all completing Bachelor of Science degrees in psychology across different years of study. The researchers helped the students to complete a range of exams and online assignments using unedited answers written by ChatGPT-4. Researchers found that 94% of their AI submissions slipped by the examiners unnoticed, and the AI students did better than their peers, with an 83.4% chance they could outperform a random selection of real student submissions. One of the study's authors said it should be a wake-up call for educators. A recent UNESCO survey found that less than 10% of schools worldwide have policies or guidance in place regarding generative AI. Further details of the study can be found in the PLOS ONE Science Journal. Middlesbrough Council East of England is to trial auto-enrolment for free school meals, according to the local government website. The pilot scheme will ensure automatic enrolment as a safety net for children whose families do not apply. Parents will have the right to opt out. The council said reasons for families not claiming free school meals included not understanding the application process, low levels of literacy, language barriers, and stigma. A sample of 60 Middlesbrough households found 11 eligible families were not signed up for free school meals, and the council said this meant schools missing out on thousands of pounds in funding. A similar process introduced in Sheffield in 2016 saw £3.8 million worth of extra pupil premium funding allocated as a result of auto-enrolment. The Star in Sheffield reports that universities in the city have launched litter patrols to reduce what they call end-of-term dumping. According to the article, enforcers will be out in force over the coming days as tenancies come to an end and 50,000 students move out of their rented accommodation. The joint approach by Sheffield and Hallam universities comes after residents complained about piles of rubbish left on pavements. Both universities have said that they work closely with the City Council and give regular reminders to students to put excess waste in bags neatly outside. A spokesperson went on to highlight that since 2013, students in Sheffield have raised over £1 million for the British Heart Foundation by donating items at the end of term rather than throwing them out. Schools Week reports that trusts are warning they face having to make significant redundancies and have no choice but to exclude vulnerable children following shock cuts to SEND budgets in the middle of the year. Multi-academy trusts have written to Norfolk County Council in a last-ditch bid to avoid a funding cliff edge, after learning last week how a revised approach to top-up funding would impact them. As first reported by Schools Week in January, Norfolk was not then on track to meet its government safety valve agreement. In January, it received £70 million to balance its high-needs budget, but was told to submit revised plans and to join an enhanced monitoring scheme. The council has adjusted overall top-up funding allocations to remain within budget, but this means allocations will fall. The council acknowledge it will create some challenges for schools. The letter, signed by the heads of 5 multi-academy trusts in the area, have revealed their shock and disappointment and stated it will result in significant redundancies. It goes on to say the effect on children will be negative in the extreme. The full article can be read on the Schools Week website. Finally, the BBC News website reports that Japanese Emperor Naruhito has returned to Oxford University as part of his state visit. The Emperor, then Crown Prince, attended Merton College, complete with security detail, during the early 1980s. A former roommate of the Emperor said he was very down to earth and didn't use a title, preferring to be called Hero whilst he completed his studies. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Jo Fox.
Okay, thank you to Jo for the news and to our sponsors there again for supporting us on Teachers Talk Radio. Thinking a lot this evening about the year that's gone. There are, of course, 10 days left or so, depending when you finish for the holiday. But, thinking back over all of the things that have happened, the highs, the lows, the challenges, the funny bits, Harriet, I'm still sort of smiling to myself about the idea of you being dressed all in yellow and running around being ecstatic in your school, because I think, and I do know, I probably should have said this earlier on, I do know you, and I can well see you doing that.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good day. And I had to have 2 coffees for that day to really fulfill my ecstatic, yeah, but it was good. It was good
fabulous. You touched a little bit just before we had the break for the ads and the news, whatever. You touched a little bit actually on, there's things that just while we've been talking, you've thought back on that perhaps you hadn't remembered until we had this conversation. So I'm just sort of curious, really. I mean, I have put you on the spot, live on air, kind of asking you to reflect back on your year. So, how's that sort of been? How's it feel? And has anything else sort of sprung to mind?
Yeah, do you know, it's been really lovely reflecting and kind of looking back at all the positives and all the fun things, because you do, as a teacher, you always almost look on the bad side of how things haven't gone well or something like that. So no, it has been lovely to reflect and to think. What was the next question that you asked me, because now you have put me on the spot?
Oh, I was just asking you sort of how it was, and we did have a short break there while we heard the news and everything else, just whether anything else had sprung to mind.
Just nothing. I mean, every day the children, they always come in and they'll bring me little flowers and things like that are just so sweet. And you would never, in what other job can you dress up in a yellow kind of outfit and run around and get flowers from children, and they compliment you, oh, your hair looks pretty today, miss. And I'm like, I've done nothing to it, it's freshly washed. And yeah, just tiny little things like that you often forget about until you kind of sit down and go, oh, actually, yeah, it wasn't a bad day.
Yeah. And those little moments, they do make a difference, don't they? I mean, yeah, you might have said, well, I haven't done any, in your head you might have thinking, I haven't done anything different, but they've obviously noticed something and they wanted to, they wanted to share that.
Yeah. And actually the funniest one was when I got my eyebrows tinted and dyed and waxed, and they went, Mrs. Swaby, your face looks so different. And I'm like, oh, I've had my eyebrows done. Yep, they're quite dark.
Oh, so you got that, and then you got your student who was writing about eyelashes as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Bit of a theme.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, part of, as I said before, part of thinking about what's gone well in a year, all the things that have happened, all the change that's been made, it is, yes, recognising the achievements of our students, but it is also about, our own well-being as teachers, as professionals as well. And I suppose just thinking, as we're coming to the end of the year and we're coming to a time when people can really take that extended break, what is it that perhaps has worked for you or supported you in terms of your well-being this year?
Fresh air. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's raining or it's not as nice, getting outside and just breathing in some fresh air has really helped. Obviously, I've got Buzz the dog, so I take him out every day,
Yeah.
run with him. And I definitely think just trying to get out for 10, 15 minutes, because being in a classroom all day is exhausting and it does take its toll on you. And if you don't get out and enjoy the fresh air, it will kind of just, I definitely think enjoy the surroundings that you've got outside. Although I am looking outside now and it's chucking it down with rain. So
Yes, I'm looking outside as you speak as well, thinking exactly the same. Like, I have my two dogs; they do need to go out. I'm going to spell WALK because if I say it,
yes, yeah,
all chaos will ensue. But yes, I am looking outside, going. The weather is
yeah,
off-putting, to say
it,
the least.
it is off-putting, and I think sometimes, getting out in the rain, actually, if you dress appropriately for it, it's quite nice and refreshing.
You have got a point there.
Yeah, I think sometimes there's no such thing. This is something where I learned when I done some forest school stuff. There's no such thing as bad weather; it's bad preparation.
Yeah,
So if you can prepare for the weather, then definitely get some fresh air. But also having a good network of people around you,
yeah,
just to kind of, when you are feeling down or you are feeling rubbish, going to someone that you can trust, and a teacher or not a teacher, and talk through your problems, talk through what you need help with, or what what's on your mind. Because if you've got a good network of people, they will be able to boost you up and support you where you need support.
yeah.
And I've been very fortunate where my team teacher in my school are great, and I can always go to my team teacher and say, look, can you help me with this? I haven't got any ideas on what to do. Can you help me? And she'll go, yep, here you go. And just bouncing ideas off each other.
And that's so powerful, isn't it, to have someone that, I mean, you're very fortunate that someone that's literally in your school, you can go and say, help, what do I do?
Yep.
But you're right, it doesn't have to, I think you said, it could be a not teacher, it could be someone in
Yeah,
school that's not a teacher, but it could be someone outside of that kind of education world as well.
definitely. Because although a lot of my friends that aren't teachers, they don't get it and they won't get it, and no one really gets the teacher life until you're a teacher.
No.
But it's nice to kind of talk things through with someone that isn't a teacher, and just, let put the world to rights.
Definitely, we all need a friend who we can do that with. So
Yes.
true.
Yep.
And that's, I think, the fact, actually, going back a little bit what you said about going and having those conversations again, that shows how much things have moved on in a really good way, because that perhaps wasn't always the case. It was, you get on with it, you don't show how you feel, and that can be really harmful to people if they don't have an outlet.
Absolutely, yeah. And there are times when you think, oh gosh, I can't go and speak to the head teacher because she'll think, oh, I'm not doing my job properly. But actually, even head teachers, they've all had that moment of, oh God, what do I need to do? And
Yeah.
you need that outlet, and you need to, if you need the support, ask for it, because there's no point keeping it bottled up, because you will just consume yourself. And it's no good to you, and it's no good to the people around you. So definitely speak if you need the help and support, and good network of people will really help with that.
Yeah. There's an interesting point, I again reading around sort of, the concept of reflection, and how it can be beneficial, particularly with a sort of lens around schools. There's actually an interesting point that someone said, it can be about taking time deliberately with the pupils. And that's not necessarily in the classroom scenario, but whether that's out at break, or clubs, or, like you say, sports days, the trips, the things that are different.
Yeah, I actually, in one of the notes that I've written down, is so I do lunch break duty, and
Yeah.
it's optional, and you get paid for it. So I thought, you know what, I'll do it, because I like spending that type of time with the children, again, because you're seeing them outside of the classroom, in the playground with their friends. And
Yeah.
I although I'm on duty, I will play a little bit of football with the year fives if they need an extra team member, and things like that, and school trips as well. Like, it's lovely to see the children in their own children being children, you know, not in the classroom and doing the work and stuff. So that's really good.
Yeah. And I mean, that's goes right back to what you said at the beginning about building relationships. I mean, I love that you're out on the playground playing football with them. What I want to know is whether they want you on their team, or whether, are you that you're not the one, hopefully not the one that's last to be picked.
No, they actually asked me to be on their team, which was really sweet of them. And they were so sweet that they kept going, "Go on, Mrs. Swaby, you take the penalty." And then they saw how shockingly bad I was. They were like, "Maybe you just stay in defence." But I did try, and we all had, like, you know, we all had a giggle and stuff. And I'm back on duty on Monday, so it'll be interesting to see if they want me back on their team or not.
And not a substitute.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and I don't. But there's what we've got 2 Mondays left, so you've not got long to
No,
prove yourself to them.
no, I know.
Oh, well, I think that's absolutely lovely that you know you've taken that time not just to get to know them as people, but actually that time is something that is beneficial for you in the sense of well-being as well as you know them developing as students, because it is such an important thing, isn't it, to look after ourselves in a really busy year.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions I when I was sort of putting out information about this show was that typical question of where are all the glue sticks and
Yeah.
how many wet paper towels have we gone through this year? Um, so yeah, have you got any of those other little stories, or have you found the glue sticks? I suppose that is the key question.
Do you know, it's not, so you said how many wet paper towels? It's not the wet paper towels I've got through, it's the box of tissues, just in
Oh, okay.
general. I think the hay fever season is just taking its toll on the tissues in my classroom.
Yeah.
For me, it's the whiteboard pens and the children getting through whiteboard pens like there's
Okay.
no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So them, and yeah, dried glue sticks, bane of my life. Put the glue lid on the glue stick, please. That's one thing I
Yeah.
repeat constantly.
Maybe I should rephrase my question. It's not where is the glue stick, it's where's the lid.
Exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
normally it's under a table or in front of them.
Yeah. But I don't know if you get the same, but in a secondary school, or particularly alternative provision, I'm sure there's must be a reason somewhere, but we seem to have a lot of exploding pens.
See, I'm year 3. We don't use pens.
Only whiteboard ones.
Only whiteboard pens, and it often goes all over the tables and
Yeah.
on their clothes, and I'm like, oh my
Oh.
goodness, your parents are not going
Yeah.
to be happy.
Oh, it is a thing. It must be something about students and pens, whether it's whiteboard or biro pens, but there's definitely something about pens.
Yeah,
Um,
I think, they love to use them when they don't need to use them.
that is perfectly put. Yeah, and then when they're supposed to use them, oh no, I can't find it.
Or it doesn't work
It doesn't
because,
work. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I think that kind of sums up school, doesn't it? Really.
it does. Yeah.
That's a very good little anecdote there. Listen, Harriet, I mean, we could talk for a long time, I'm sure, about all our sort of school-related stories. I'm mindful of your time, as I say, on a Friday evening. So, a massive thank you
Thank you for
for
inviting me on.
coming on. Well, thank you for giving up your time. I just wondered if you'd got any final thoughts before I let you go. And there is a little bit more of the show, just me chatting on, which you're welcome to stay and listen to, but obviously completely understand if you have to head off.
Thank you. Final tips and final things for me. Be consistent, set yourself boundaries, enjoy
Yeah.
the small wins, and build those relationships.
Oh, that's fab, and I love that in a nutshell. The little wins, building those relationships, absolutely key. Really, really good advice. Thank you, Harriet, for sharing those.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely chatting to you. And I am going to have to dash off because I'm going out at 7:15, so at 7:45.
I was going to say, if it's 7:45, I've made you late.
No, but 7:45. But it's been wonderful chatting to you, Claire. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harriet, and enjoy your weekend.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so thank you there again to Harriet. Some fantastic advice there at the end, and some wonderful stories of her year as a primary school teacher. Just going to hear once more from our sponsors now before a few concluding thoughts from me before we finish up for the day.
Hi teachers, we're Apps for Good. and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculum. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps for good. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org. Imagine having your own instructional coach available 24/7. Now you can with the Teaching How-Tos platform. This highly personalised social platform empowers busy teachers to learn and apply evidence-based teaching techniques, either independently, working collaboratively with their peers, or with our new AI assistant. The platform features over 160 visual guides to teaching techniques, designed to help you quickly and easily implement high-impact practices that boost student engagement and improve learning outcomes. Join over 200 institutions worldwide that are elevating their teaching practices with the How-To app. No gurus, just practical support anytime you need it. Interested in finding out more? Visit teachinghowtos.com and register for our next webinar.
Empowering education with Easy4U, where innovation meets accessibility. Our subscription-based offering not only equips schools with cutting-edge devices, but revolutionises the learning experience by eliminating financial barriers, streamlining support, and embracing technology. We're not just providing tools, we're shaping a future where every student can thrive, unburdened by limitations. Easy4U, transforming education, one device at a time. Find out more at www.easy4u.school.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Are you looking for best practices and innovative strategies to foster confident, lifelong readers? Watch sessions by thought leaders in education, literacy experts, and EdTech specialists from the International Reading Conference for free. The lineup included renowned speakers such as TV personality and education expert Basit Siddiqui, and beloved children's author Michael Rosen. The three-day conference explored a range of topics at the forefront of the current educational landscape, with sessions relevant for all educators and key stages. Sign up to receive the recordings for free by visiting the Reading Solutions UK website at readingsolutionsuk.co.uk.
Okay, thank you again to our sponsors there for your support of Teachers Talk Radio. Coming towards the end of the show this evening, so do just want to say another thank you to Harriet for sharing some fantastic experiences and stories about her year. We spent this evening looking back at all things start of the year, the goals, the dreams, the expectations we had, and how those things have changed as the year's gone on. What we've achieved, and the highs and lows and everything else kind of in between, really. And I think how it's saying at the end about pens and glue sticks, that does absolutely sum up all of the sorts of things we go through as teachers during the course of a school year. Now for me, it was also an opportunity to spend a bit of time and kind of celebrate the things that have happened, not just because it was fun, and it was fun actually. And there's things I found myself, like, little bits would pop into my brain when I was waiting for the kettle to boil, or when I was out walking the dog, and it was actually quite a nice experience. Not just thinking about it in a sense of sitting down writing some notes for the show, but then the little bits, as I say, that popped up when I kind of wasn't expecting them, which those little things that they do make a difference. But yes, it is a bit of fun, but also there is a serious note here that it is actually real positive in terms of our well-being to think back and to make a point of noticing the good bits. As Harriet said, it's very easy to get dragged down and drawn into the things that haven't gone so well, that perhaps weren't to the plan that we had intended. But there are so many things that have been successes, that have been positives, and if we can just take a moment to deliberately notice those, it can really boost our mood. It can really help with our well-being. So, I hope that's, been something you've enjoyed listening to Harriet's stories. I hope it's been a bit of a prompt, perhaps, for you as well to go away and really spend a little bit of time thinking about what it is that you've really taken from this year. My sort of questions that I started thinking about were, what are the successes? What are the highs? Um, Equally, what are the challenges? It is important to acknowledge those, and how you overcame them, because in a way that then becomes a success. Or what have you done differently, or what have you learned from that experience that means, should that challenge come around again, you've got a better tool in your toolkit, if you like, to respond. Or perhaps you've got something now that will prevent whatever it was from happening at all, or from perhaps getting to the point that it did. So lots of successes, lots of things that you can pull out from the year, and use to kind of build into your next year. So I hope, if you do take that time, you have a bit of fun thinking about it, and also, it is something that is an enjoyable experience, and as well as that, does help with well-being and how you're feeling about your role as a teacher, because it is something, it's tough, as Harriet said, really busy, there's always things going on. It's People are tired, there's 10 days to go, the students are tired, the staff are tired, and there are still all those things like performances. Some people still got transition days or final parents evenings to get through. So it is important that we take stock, and just think about all of those things that have made a difference, and make the job what it is, because it is a really valuable and a really privileged job that we have, to be able to work with young people and have an impact on their future. And just taking away a few bits again that Harriet said, her goal right back in September wasn't about the academics. It wasn't about data. It wasn't about how many children will pass the phonics test, or whatever else was relevant. But it was about building relationships. It was about getting to know the students, and also their families. And I think, as we heard some of those stories where, they were sharing with Harriet things like, oh, Miss, we like your hair today, or oh, Miss such and such has happened, and that just wanting to share it. I think it goes to show the power that those relationships have, and definitely a real success there, for Harriet to take away from her year. And, a final thank you to her for giving up her Friday evening, especially when, as she said, she's got to get ready now to go out and enjoy herself, and well deserved too. She definitely deserves to let her hair down this evening. So, thank you very much for listening, whether you are here listening live or whether you've downloaded the podcast. Either way, thank you very much for being here. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time, which will be, for most people, the final day of term. And I'm going to take that opportunity to think about the power of rest, and how it can help us to recover and recharge over the holidays. But in the meantime, plenty of other shows coming up on Teachers Talk Radio, covering all sorts of different topics. So please do have a look, join in, and I will be back, as I say, in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.